Hello, everyone. This is Claire E. Parsons, the founder of the Brilliant Legal Mind blog, and I am here today with a brand new thing that I came up with my friend Lauren Van Dyke Wolf. So Lauren is a new contributor to the blog, and this week she had her first post talking about life transitions. And we decided that maybe we could talk about this a little bit more. So we're launching a new thing called Brilliant Conversations, which is just people talking about mindfulness in a way that's real. And we'll do this, when we feel like it or when we're specifically inspired to, and we'll just try it and see what comes of it. So Lauren is here with me today, and Lauren is not a meditation teacher, but she is a lawyer. She's a mom like me, and she's my friend. And one of the things that helped us become friends is just talking about mindfulness. And so she came to the blog just because we kept talking about it. And then I think the next thing was for her to write about it. And so it just worked out, and it's made it kind of fun for me. And I'm really happy she's here. But Lauren, just to introduce yourself a little bit, can you talk about your experience or your journey with mindfulness and why you decided to start writing?
Yeah, sure. So I really started in college in the 90s. So the Dalai Lama's brother lived, I don't know if he still does, lives in Bloomington, Indiana. So whenever the Dalai Lama would come to the United States, he would come to Bloomington, Indiana, and Buddhists would descend on Bloomington. So the first time I really thought about it, this very young, shaved head, the whole thing was like going door to door and selling books. So I bought this book, and it was really esoteric. So weird. I still have the book, but I was like, what is this guy talking about? I have no idea. But it kind of intrigued me. So over the years, I would kind of pick up these books, but I would always pick up these Zen Buddhist books, which I know you've read about Zen Buddhism. It's very esoteric. And it never really connected with me, but I would constantly pick up books over the years. And then when my son William was born in 2012, he was born with end-stage renal disease, had very little chance of surviving birth, and then it was a really tough road his first 18 months of life. And quite frankly, I was just barely coping, barely getting by. And then we had smartphones. And so long hours at the hospital, I started playing around with different apps, and I found an app, and I started doing just like 1 minute at a time, and just instantly felt a little better. And it's just kind of stuck.
Yeah, and I kind of had a similar experience. I sort of learned about it myself because I was a philosophy major in college, but then didn't take it up until later after a difficult pregnancy. And I started with really small increments of time. And now that I've had a longer journey with it, I've gotten really into it, and my practice is, closer to 30 minutes a day. But when I go and speak on this, Lauren, I say 30 minutes a day, and people feel like, I'm telling them that I'm sentencing them to life in prison or something when I say something like that long. So I know that we've talked about how you have a shorter practice and a different style. And I want to hear about how a short period of time, how that's been helpful to you in terms of dealing with life transitions or just life stresses, because I think that's really valuable to a lot of people.
Well, I think it's funny too, Claire, because you'll say 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God, 5 minutes. 5 minutes is like forever sometimes. So for me, I started, there's an app, it's called the My Life app now, and they have a lot of like 1 minute and 3 minutes. So what I started doing is, at school pickup, I would look at the clock, and I would have, the kids would be coming out the door, and I would think, oh, I have 1 minute. I can do 1 minute. I can do 3 minutes. And there's actually science to support this, that, doing 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and that might add up to 10, 20, 30 minutes throughout the day. When I rarely sit for more, a long sit for me is 15 minutes. I would say I probably average in the 5 to 10 at a time, but I really do that multiple times throughout the day. So my average daily total is probably closer to the 30 minutes. And it made a huge difference. I mean, just that idea, and we've talked about this before, the one breath idea. Um, just what that teaches you is you start to train your brain and your body, and even just taking 2 deep breaths before you go into that meeting or before you make that phone call, or that really, it adds up and it makes a big difference. And it's what worked for me was sort of squeezing it in. That first year William was born, we spent every waking hour either at the hospital or working. Ben and I had our own law practice, or just trying to have fun with our 3-year-old daughter at the time. So for me, the idea of, oh, I'm going to go sit and meditate in a quiet, peaceful room for 7 minutes felt completely undoable. But this idea that I can sit in the car at school pickup and do it for 3 minutes, that's just how I folded it in. I would go to the bathroom at the hospital all the time. I would sit in the bathroom because I thought nobody's going to mess with me for, 3 minutes in the bathroom. And it worked. It really worked because I built the habit. It sort of helped build the routine of grabbing the moments when they come throughout the day, instead of I'm going to meditate for 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes before bedtime. For me, kind of sprinkling it out, it really freed me up to kind of play with it and see what I liked and see what worked for me. But I know you've always liked to sit longer, haven't you?
Well, and I like to sit longer. That's what I try to do every day. But honestly, there's a lot of days where I just can't, or I don't feel good, or the schedule doesn't work out. And so many days I do the same thing, where one thing I do is in the car. I'm always early for appointments and everything. That's just my thing. And I think it's an anxiety thing. I like to get there early because I feel like I'm in control, and it just makes me feel better. But then
I don't understand people like you.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
understand that.
it's how I am. But one thing that I have done is that if I'm early to a meeting, instead of walking in early, I'll take 5 minutes and do a meditation in my car once I've parked and it's safe. And that works really well. Sometimes, if I just have a few minutes between appointments or just between tasks, I'll do a quick just meditation. Sometimes I'll even listen to my Apple Watch and take my 1-minute breath break and things like that. And so I don't necessarily think it's really even an either or. I think it is a, and also, and try to do what works. But I think the real secret is not the amount of time, but that sense of play and that willingness to sort of treat it more like Play-Doh than Lego blocks, that you mold it to fit your life. And that's what works. But I think the sprinkling is good, because every time you sit to meditate, I don't think it's just the practice of meditation. I think it's that every time you do it, you're telling yourself, how I feel matters, and I can do something to help myself. And every time you do that, that helps. That's a reminder. And I think that's so important for all of us to do, especially when we're living in hard times. And I think, frankly, all of us are always living in hard times.
Well, and for me too, early on, it was really the brain science that helped me connect. I really connected to that because it sort of really explains, there are so many studies now that just show that even having mindful moments throughout the day completely rewires your brain. And that sort of evidence base, now I've sort of accepted it. But early on, that science that showed that, for me, I felt sort of intimidated for a long time, well, if I can't sit for 6 hours a day like the Dalai Lama, then I'm not going to get anything out of it. But that idea that I will get the same benefit if I sit for 30 minutes in the morning, or I sprinkle 30 minutes throughout my day. And I just felt it. I think that's the thing. That's what I tell people all the time I notice a lot of, when people are interested in it, they think, well, I can't sit for 5 minutes or 7 minutes. And that's why I get real passionate about the 1 minute, the 2 minutes, the 3 minutes, because it just sort of tears down that wall and makes it feel less intimidating. And also, it sort of takes away that kind of like shame of, well, I can't do it right. It's add it to another thing I'm failing at in my life. But there's all this, and there's a lot of great guided apps. I know you don't really do much guided meditation, but I do less of it now. But when my monkey brain is on overdrive, the guided meditation just lets me zone out to it. Because you can just grab those moments. And once you sort of train your brain to look for those moments, like I'm folding laundry, I'm going to take 3 deep breaths. That's a meditation.
Yeah, and I don't use guided meditations personally, but I make guided meditations, so I'm not going to criticize them at all. And so we have those on the website and on the YouTube channel for anyone who's interested. But I think like that's really the lesson of the day is don't try to sit and look like the Dalai Lama or anyone else. Try to sit and do what you can do. And every day is what's beneficial for me. And I think like if you just let that grow over time and be what it is, you know, that's what can really help you, because eventually you might find you can sit longer, or some days you can find you can sit for 3 minutes and the next you can do 9. It's just the way it is. I mean, this is potentially a lifetime practice, so there's not really a big rush. It's not a race. It's a marathon. So anyway, thanks, Lauren, for being here. I don't want this to go too long,
Thanks,
and we are venturing into other topics that maybe we can discuss later too. So I'm going to cut us off, but any final thoughts?
No, just take a deep breath. Life's crazy these days. Take a deep breath. You'll feel better.
Yep. Take a deep breath from Brilliant Legal Mind. We'll see you guys later on. Thanks.
Bye.